And the challenge series returns for episode 78. Now that I'm able to actually consistently record them again, things are progressing a lot faster. Who'd have thought, right? Just when I have all this darn free time in the afternoons, because for some reason nobody is around. Yeah. Episode 78, just a week ahead of the Clubman Cup qualifiers. I almost was like, did I say Club? No, you didn't. You said it right. I expected to say it wrong, and I didn't. I guess that's just how it always works, ain't it? But yeah, tangentine aside, always be mindful of that 60-minute episode timer, so on to the first race. And we are green for the first race of episode 78. We visit Fuji Speedway, basically the unofficial home in the challenge series. And I also distinctly remember it as the place where I taught Noah how to drive, basically. That's a long story, but well, it didn't take literal years for her to figure it out, which was always weird to me. Anywho, we were fittingly on board with Noir in this event. I think she got a bit of a conservative start, not wanting to wreck the car in turn 1. Something I wish more people had the wherewithal to do. Leave it to Noir of all people to have that sort of presence of mind. Up into 17th, sort of making her way through the Mercury Racing collection down in the bottom half of the running order. There was just a bunch of contact up there. I don't know who or what. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Who do? Oh, okay, there's a lot going on here. So, our race car runs into the back of Axel. Nakazato has a flippin' stroke going into this corner, unless he gets tagged by his student. No, he just does that. What? Okay. I don't really know how you managed to do that, Noriaki, but okay then. You just forgot how to keep the car in a straight line the second he hit the brakes. Lots of cars with damage in this opening lap here. None really in the front. It's the kind of mid-pack. I guess that's kind of how it always goes, isn't it? Ironically enough, Nakazato's mental breakdown heading to the hairpin actually helped him get out of the way of the carnage at the braking zone. Oh wow, that's not even a contest there. Nakazato just gets run over by Nozomi and Kotori, basically. Noir gets ahead of my mom on corner exit. You make multiple around the outside overtakes here at the what you can call that? I think it's like 180R or something. Cruising up to her fellow NSX driver, gonna outbrake the hell out of it and get judo chopped with the apex by Nidori, who had no idea that she'd be there, I'm assuming. Sebastian Orleans is not able to keep pace. This is something I should probably mention now. As most who play Gran Turismo 7 might be aware, an update recently was added to the game. And that update changed pretty much the whole game physics engine, just in general. And whenever they do that, that shifts around the performance points conversion. Alright. That happened. And so, oh boy. I'm gonna pause and finish my topic, because it seems like Noir is about to do something that she might not, or may not regret. Yeah, so when they change the car, like, simulation model or whatever, physics model, the performance point system gets reworked too. So every single car in the game's performance points changed and had to be rebalanced for the Challenge Series purposes. While some cars could not make it back to the original category that they were in, because pretty much every car's performance points rating went down, with like a couple of bizarre exceptions. So some cars are not running in the same category they used to. On top of that, because of just how much so many cars went down, to minimize issues, we actually have just reworked the whole category system in general, at least in the top half of the series. It is no longer these 760, 720, 680 categories, it's now 750, 715, and 675. It's been 675 at one point before, and there was also a 750 class at one point. The 715 is the weird one because not a lot of cars could get back up to 720. They all kind of just stopped at like 716, 717, and I was just like, you know what, we're just gonna go to 715 and just make it easier on me. And so those changes are now in effect beginning in episode 78. The 640 class and 600 classes were not affected. Pretty much every car, with one exception down there, which we'll get to later, was able to stay in was able to get back to its original 640 or 600 rating with relative ease. But yeah, so this is a 675 class race. It's still effectively the same thing. The only difference is that Sebastian Orleans is in the race. Because his KTM crossbow couldn't get back to 715, it only got to 712. So that's a yikes. His power has been nerfed to the ground, and he's running in 675, and as you can see, based on the fact that he got overtaken by a truck on the straightaway, he's not having the greatest performance. Anyway, now back to your regularly scheduled whatever the hell's about to happen here. We got Noir just kind of shadowing Lombardi. I am aware that she and Logan have had this kind of shared, like, common enemy with... Oh, that's a bit of a block. This sort of, like, common enemy thing with Lombardi for a while. I didn't really understand why, and I wasn't about to ask. I feel like I might want to ask now. At least ask Noir. This doesn't really look good on NFR, and we're going all the way to the wall. Alrighty then. You're paying for that, Noir. I hope you know that. NSXs aren't cheap to repair. Lombardi's Lancer has not given up just yet, despite having damage on literally every single part of the vehicle. But Noir's hasn't either, which is not damaged on both ends, only the front. Another one. Somebody get the most wanted pursuit music in here, or something or other. I swear the actions of Victoria Noir do not represent the actions and opinions of NFR as a whole. That's just a disclaimer. Alright, children, are we done? You've brought out your red flag now, and Lombardi's car looks less like a Mitsubishi Evo and more like a Mitsubishi crossover. That actually wouldn't make any sense. It's a Mitsubishi Mirage. I'll be having a conversation with, my driver here after this. Get at least an explanation for that, if nothing else. I guess she didn't involve anybody else, so I guess I can't be that annoyed. She can talk herself out of this, but it's not going to be easy to do. And so, Scott Webber, who drove away from the field once he took the lead from Orleans, will be your winner. Ryo Futaba with second, James Falcon with third. Orleans, well, kind of grab onto fourth. Probably would have gone further down if this race had gone as full planned 4-lap distance, so he's probably not too upset about the race ending here. And we are away for race 2. One very heated conversation later. That was interesting to have. Hopefully the following race here, now the 7:15 class, heads to Tokyo South, also known as the Gemini layout, but Gemini is not here because he doesn't have a car in this class. He's probably somewhere in the stands though. As it's an absolute melee heading through the dockyard section lap 1. We have... I'm almost wrecking Ryan Wolf. My dad slammed into the back of the Focus car, Eric Wojciechowski, in his 458. Wolf and Beck are still fighting, and Eric's gonna split the difference and get Eliza Kaiser for a bonus. Talk about being opportunistic. That's a wall. That's not opportunistic, that's clumsy. Scorch is ahead of Thomas O'Reilly. Okay, what is going on? Now here's David. Sending it right down on Eric. But Eric didn't really care, he drove away. He drove ahead of Danvers anyway, and I was going to get ahead of Nittery through the Essence. A huge run off the last turn, that's in 2 more places. Okay, what the fuck, we're only through 1 lap, and he's looking at P7 on Mika Harris. Who's trying to apply pressure to the back of Shiro Sasaki. These two definitely had their run in last week. I'm kind of surprised one's not trying to turn the other yet. They're kind of racing relatively normal right now. Eric goes for a gap that has been closed. That was clumsy. Listening to Eric and sounded a bit too much there, Eric. This time the gap is there, and Sasaki closes it again anyway. Mika Harris lost so much time that even Veronica was able to get around her following... Alright, that wasn't really in the Pedonzi spirit there, but... I've spent a great deal of time on this track too, so I have just the track time advantage over most of the field. I don't know how much that'll help me against Eric, though, who seems to be in fuego as he gets ahead of Monticello. Monticello attempts a comeback into the hairpin, but he just can't find the confidence in the car at the apex. Ahead of Vert, yep. Yeah, I might have the track experience and all that on my end, but like the pace that Eric is showing right now is just about just inhuman, all but. I don't think I'm keeping this behind me for 2 more laps. Just a hunch. Yeah, no, I can defend to the inside all that I wanted. They're just ain't shit. He doesn't even make the apex of turn 1. It just does not matter. That 458 is built like a 750 class car, apparently. I don't know what the hell. Monticello is trying to not fall down the order. It's not working too well. Everyone's just kind of doing the shuffle through the dockyard, and apparently Danvers just got a bit klutzy there and clobbers the SLR McLaren. Thomas having a race to forget, that's for sure. Yeah, it was around this point that I was like, yeah, Eric's just gone. I'm just gonna work on holding on to P2 over Vert and Ice. I think it's kind of what most people are honestly thinking at this point. Just hang out where I am. Keep the car off the walls. Except for Mika, who's running to the back of Sasaki. So yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers, and so does Mika Harris. Gonna try the outside. Sasaki defending the inside for all it's worth, which is a lot. Well, defending a bit too far inside and puts himself in the inside wall. This is about the only real action on the racetrack, and Veronica's right there to pick up pieces if these two do what I'm kind of halfway expecting them to do, which is crash. Now Mika's going for it. Sasaki gives no real estate. He's not really expected to by any means. The sun rises. They're just one more track sector away from a very commanding W here at a track that he isn't really known for. He's more of the Europe guy usually, but he's obviously shown up pretty well at tracks like, no, who am I kidding? He's done well at just about every track that Challenge Series has ever raced at. He just doesn't run at Tokyo Expressway too often. But that will not stop him from taking an absolutely dominant victory here at the literally named Gemini layout. Scrapes a little bit of paint off and leave his mark on Tokyo Expressway as he takes a victory at about a 3-second margin of victory over me or so. Vert Wheeler third, Monticello barely hanging on to fifth, and Sasaki will get the better of Harris at the line. But that actually just means he puts his car right in the middle of the track. That doesn't leave enough room on either lane for a Mustang to fit. And yeah, business as usual. Another Eric Wojciechowski domination. And and the beat goes on, I suppose. Race 3 is green, and this is going to be, well, actually it's not going to be much longer of a race, but it is going to be, it's going to feel that way. The 600 class visits Spa. Spa, there we go. I'm like, what, camera, do something. Yeah, so we are here at Spa. It's going to be a 2-lap race because this is going to be a very long race otherwise. As it stands now, we're still looking at a 5.5, nearly 6-minute race because this is the slowest category. But a lot of drivers have been saying for the longest time, it's not the track, it's how many laps we do on it. At the end of the day, 2 laps of Spa is still the same amount of time as 8 laps of Kyoto Park Miyabi. And a lot of the 600 class participants were kind of getting tired of their track selection and the tracks that they were running at being so heavily limited by the lap length. So, they all made a good point. I can choose, me and the other admins can choose how many laps we do. It doesn't have to be 4 laps in every race, because it isn't in every race. It is in a lot of races, because it ends up with most races running in that 6 to 9 minute range. That's, very consistent and easy to keep within an hour-long time limit. But it doesn't mean that every race has to be 4 laps. So, 2 laps of Spa, we are on board with the very oversteery Amber Ashhart, and I know she wouldn't have it any other way. This crazy Group B nerd who just doesn't feel at home unless she's nearly out of control. In her Renault R5, I can only imagine what her driving style would be like if she were in a more high-powered vehicle. But, and again, Renault stopped making rear-wheel drive cars with the Renault 5 for the most part. So the only other option for that is an RS01, and that's a race car, so it's not really supposed to get oversteered very much. As mentioned with the whole category shift thing, there's one car beneath the 675 class that got moved around. Alexis Saliris and her Roadster touring car could not make it back into 640. So she has taken the aftermarket turbocharger out of her car and put a ballast in. So she is now running here in 600. And seems to be running decently well. She is obviously going to always have the aero parts on her car to her advantage, something that nobody else is really going to have. Well, I mean, everybody has some aero parts, but nobody has nearly as much as that Roadster does. But Amber Ashhart says says aero is for squares, even though she has a small rear wing, not much. Basically, the only thing that's necessary to keep the car from leaving the ground as it goes up Radeon, and not much more. And she is slowly catching up to the race leader of Minako Kachiya, her very eccentric Mazda Tenza. It's a very polarizing livery. Some people either say that this is the best looking car in the series, others say that it looks absolutely stupid. And Amber Ashhart just absolutely flexed upon Minako. Hit her with the initial D overtake through Lake Home, and off she bucks. Now just about a half of a lap to go. These races honestly actually seem shorter than they are when you just compartmentalize the race like that. Oh, we just have 1/2 of Spa to go. That's still 2¼ miles, me, just about. Oddly planted through Puhan. I figured she'd be over here doing like Conseil Drifto stunts through there, but I think she has the lead and she knows that she doesn't want to risk it. Because although she loves sliding around, she also likes winning the race. So, I mean, who doesn't? If you don't like winning races, you probably shouldn't be here. Blanchimont, how does the Renault react to that? Sideways. She had to do a little bit, I guess, but I don't even think she could have avoided it even if she wanted to. Blanchimont is just not a corner that's meant for cars like this. Heading through the bus stop for the last time, and it's a win. It's certainly one of the wins for Amber Ashhart. Mazda's 2-3. With Alexis taking third in her first race in the 600 class. Reiko Mishima is gonna pick off P6 at the line, basically. That was a very closely contested race, probably because it was only 2 laps. In fact, the cars back here were only back there because they were damaged. At least that's my guess. So, I suppose it is kind of a welcome change of pace to have had a relatively laid-back event, or two, after whatever the fuck race 1 was. I mean, I know what the fuck it was. It doesn't make it any more just crazy to even think about in concept. Anyway, on to the 4th one, I guess. Race 4 is green, and boy is it an interesting story here. So, we had 22 people show up to this race, originally. 22 wanted to sign up, including me in my S14, and Thrasher in his F50. We both kind of looked at the other 20 and we're just like, fuck it, let's just let all of the Group 3s run. Because we're the only not Group 3 cars that want to show up for this race right now. 750 class racing heads to Grand Valley for 5 laps. Continuing the trend of not being 4 laps, I suppose. Yeah, it's a Group 3 race. Or it's like our modified Group 3, where all of the cars have, like, aftermarket turbochargers and are not BOP'd. And apparently, I think Sulaco just got put in the wall by June Summers, if I'm not mistaken. I was going through here, but June Summers has got a bit of understeer and just whacks Sulaco straight into that outside wall. Good thing they made that guardrail strong enough to withstand the force of a 1.25 tons Subaru 3 car, or Sulaco would be taking a little bit of a swim. And speaking of, we're on board with her teammate, Kogasa Tatara, in her F-Type. Tyler has been gelling well with his RCF lately, so I expect him to probably be contesting for the race lead not too far from now. This is, I believe, a car that has existed for a while but never got a chance to show up. Thomas O'Reilly's Saleen S201 wide body reference, which doesn't have a number on it. Oh no, there it is. It's beneath the GTS. It's hard to see because it's a white outline, or black outline and nothing more. You know, there is a number on there, because that's required. If the car doesn't have the number on it, then it just can't race. That's why all the drivers have racing numbers in the first damn place. Kogasa had a really good start, but now she's reached the top 10 and her progress has sort of stalled out. My mom is ahead in the Audi R8 and she's... Well, her car's weakness is straight line speed and oversteer, but that's beside the point. But that's being mitigated by being in the slipstream of Sebastian Orleans and his McLaren. We got like tandem racing. We got like Tyler just behind Alice Carson, Thomas O'Reilly just behind Zhou Jingwei. Stephanie was just behind JJ West. My mom is kind of following behind Sebastian Orleans, and here comes Kogasa down the inside of the Audi, but overcooks the brakes. Ugh. Barely manages to avoid those little weird barriers out there, but obviously means she didn't complete the move on the R8 just yet. She may have another chance yet, though, heading up to the hairpin. Nearly runs into the back of her as my mom kind of brake tests there. Because Kogasa outbroke Mom, and then my mom just decided that she was gonna just let off and brake again. Just forget being predictable, these are GT7 AI, you fool. It is single file all the way up and down the running order right now. About a single driver on this racetrack is even thinking about making a pass. Looks like Formula 1, but the cars look way cooler. As I say that, Stephanie decides to prove me wrong and goes down the inside of JJ West. They make a bit of contact for it, but Stephanie manages to push past the Subaru and to take P5 away. And Kogasa finally gets ahead of the Audi of my mom, and probably just saw Orleans find some sand and is going to take advantage if she can. Kind of squeezed at the apex, but the Jaguar has better straight line speed than that McLaren, and that's another position gained for the F-Type. If she can get it stopped properly this time. And she just about can. Bit of a late apex. Orleans definitely wanted to go down the inside, but the real estate was never there. These AI brakes so weird for these turns. Man, what the hell happened to Fabian back here? He's 30 seconds behind the race leader, Alex Carson, which has kind of been silently and calculatively in control of this whole race. Tyler's been there, but he hasn't been there enough for her to really worry. Although he's more than just there now. If he dares even try a move. Oh, he dares. That was a silly question on my part, to be honest. But he's gonna have to go the outside, which is easier said than done in any car. A bit of understeer on exit, so Carson will manage to defend. What in the hell? Mom got a bit eager on the brakes, and pop! I just saw this. Oh, we have another battle. Kogasa is trying her darndest to get ahead of JJ West after a good run out of the tunnel. And some slipstream. gets all the way ahead of JJ West, but after her turn 1 mishap a couple of laps ago, is a little bit cautious on where she applies the brakes, and that allows JJ West, with his lighter vehicle, to take 6th place back. Try to run through the S's, where JJ West kind of parks the brakes and then does the stupid AI wax on, wax off thing on the brakes. And so he still remains... nice shadows. He still remains in P6. If I'm Kugasa, I'm probably a little annoyed because JJ's kind of driving like a weirdo. He's not driving dangerously by definition, but he's driving in a just a really weird way that is like asking to be run into. Got a bit of a weird according effect. I think Zhou Jingwei may have had a slow lap. O'Reilly, and by extension, Kaiser, are right there on her tailpipe. And we'll see if O'Reilly can convert into anything here heading towards the final sector of the circuit. He gets down the inside of the Hyundai, slight door-to-door contact, but what else do you expect from a former touring car driver? A lot of oversteer though, but Joe can't take advantage of it because Stephanie Kaiser is down here inside now instead. The door is closed on Stephanie and she almost loses control on the final turn. JJ West is not close enough, but Kogasa certainly the fuck is. She's gonna get them both for P5 at the start-finish line. So Alice Carson, I think, takes certainly her first win in a very long time here in the Challenge Series. Over Tyler, Thomas steals 3rd place at the last minute, and Kogasa steals 5th place at the last minute. Certainly takeaways from this. Well, I don't think Suwako's the happiest camper after that. And there's quite a few others who probably wish this race went very differently. I don't think Orleans is super pleased with my mom either. Somehow Pablo Hernandez ended up finishing in between both of them. I'm not really sure how they managed to do that. But now we shall tend to the roulette race to head to cap off the final episode before the festivities of Clubman Cup begin. And the roulette race is green. We head to the reverse layout of High Speed Ring. This will really confirm the theory of which layout is more dangerous, because we've had many a High Speed Ring event go ugly thus far in the Challenge Series. What the hell? Right, I forgot the AI will do that in race cars. They'll run the outside. But the road-going car AI don't have the nerve to do that. I am the Focus driver in my now 715 class Viper. Ironically, was not much of a nerf or a buff to how my car was my car's specifications from beforehand either. Since the update changed everything around, but didn't change things like power or weight. I think the only difference is my car's like, what, a couple pounds heavier now? And I can use it to my advantage to make the car more stable by moving that way to the front. Anyway, well, Thomas had a really fast lap 1, but he got tagged, so... And Hikari is going to do the exact thing Thomas did, and he's going to take the lead over my parents. Go figure. My parents are currently battling for the 715 class lead. I'm going to have to battle them for it when I catch them. As Hikari attempts to drive off into the sunset, and I imagine he'll probably be able to do so with relative ease, as he's able to use this whole high lane, low lane nonsense to his advantage. As you can see, he's barely even a speck in the distance from my mom. That said, we do all have a straight line advantage over him. So he's gonna have to use the corners to the best of his abilities. My dad is gonna go for second place. Attempt to out-drag my mom into turn 1. And I'm gonna out-corner both of them as they were stuck too wide. This would be a terrible time for driving error. My mom refuses to give me a lane, so I make one for myself. Not quite down the inside of my father. And Thrasher's following this, probably wondering what the hell is going on. So I think he just watched me move my mom aside to get a pass done. It was either that or it was spin on the curb and take all three of us out. I'll tell her that in the garage if she asks me about it, but she probably will. Up to the outside of my dad. We're both losing time to Hikari, but I'm going to seize the moment and take the class lead in 715. Meanwhile, my mom is under threat from Thrasher, who is in 750 class, so he shouldn't even be having to make this pass anyway. Brian Ice is also in the area. He's not able to make a direct challenge, though. Ironically, the chances of me being able to win the race overall are not zero. As we're gonna have a straight line advantage over Hikari. He's gonna have the advantage in corners, though. Power versus speed, or power versus cornering in the most categorized way possible. Actually, I don't even have a straight line advantage. I don't actually have a power advantage. I have a straight line advantage because the main difference maker between my car and Hikari's is the amount of aero on it. He's got like several hundred Newton meters worth of it on his car, whereas mine is like 90. But you can see the top speed difference. The top out of 181, because the GT3 cars do have regulated gearboxes. Or Group 3, I should say. They don't have like manually adjustable transmissions like my car does, which allows me to reach nearly 210 down the front stretch. So his 181, that's pretty pathetic. So yeah, 28 mile an hour difference on the front stretch, better acceleration, less aero dependence. So, you know, Thrasher now moves into third place ahead of my parents. Second place in his class, since he doesn't technically have to beat me. But he probably should be anyway. Yeah, acceleration advantage, longer gear ratios, less downforce. Starting to talk like Jake now. And soon to be, slipstream benefits. This is going to be a high top speed right here. 202 over the start-finish line. Goodbye! 208 at the braking point. I kind of know how this works, so I leave him the high lane, but he does not take it the same way I thought he would. They both have to change lanes to start lapping the 600 class cars. If shorter laps will lead to this sort of thing, which is kind of why we like to use high-speed ring to do this. I don't know why Nico is back here. He's just barely ahead of a 600 class car, or 680. Oh, probably because everybody else is... No, not everybody else. What? I don't know what I'm looking at anymore. Hikari runs the better line. You just can't do anything about my power or straight line performance. Not power, it's got 160 more than me. And Thrasher's gonna give him a run for his money too here in a sec. He's got even more straight line performance. He's got even longer gears. It's about to be a problem for me in a minute. But then again, 750 class car, I shouldn't be ahead of him in the first place. Hikari rides the outside once more, and he's gonna take the race lead with that. Get a little bit cut off by Reiko, who gives him the inside. I have to split her. And I'm still there against Taniguchi. Thrasher gets ahead of the 300ZX, but had to take an awkward line to do so. This is certainly one of the more unusual battles for the win that I've seen, or much less been a part of in the Challenge Series. Three very different cars, one of which is taking a completely different line around the racetrack. I start to kind of imitate his racing lines around here, kind of, you know, test the water. Doesn't actually help me as much as it does him. Couldn't really get a verifiable answer, but I didn't really need one so long as I crossed the finish line ahead of him. And with straight line power like this, and using Pepper Mills as a pick, I don't have to worry too much about that. I'm sure Umi needs a new pair of pants after that one, or a new fire suit, or what have you. Noir doesn't really help me a whole lot here, I'm not gonna lie. He forces me the long way around, but doesn't even phase Taniguchi at all. Clearly no team orders here. He also just did that, which I, was not pleased with. Some professional Super GT champion you are, making a dive bomb like a NASCAR driver on crack. Isn't much of suspension damaged, but I know from the timer that this is going to be coming up to the final lap here, so I'm just going to live with this terrible driving. He gets the slipstream off of me, but even with it, it doesn't help him enough. Lap Weiser Kaiser. Yeah, this time I cut him off, because I wasn't having his bullshit now. It was a clean race until he decided that he needed to dive me into the penultimate turn. And so now I'm not giving him his due respect either. It's fine, I need to be ahead of you here. It's not necessary. You take your little NASCAR line, and I'll get a better exit because I can just pour it earlier. Slipstream, shift gears, down the inside. See you later, fuckboy. Get a little bit of a slipstream off of, what do we even use that? Oh, that's new steam. And it'll be me that crosses the finish line in first. Overall victory for a 715 class car. Despite Hikari's best efforts to take my car out of the race, Thrasher will complete the overall podium and second in class. Ice will be second in his class. O'Reilly has had a race he wants to forget. Isabel Aspinall is going to win in the 680 category, and Liv Newstein is going to win in the 640 category, relatively convincingly. And then there were two cars in the bottom class. Amber Ashart beat Scott Webber. Not by much, they were in the same tunnel at the end of the race. But that will do it for episode 78. Next time around begins the Clubman Cup qualifying. Same rules as usual. We know how this story goes by now, I'm sure.